Hello, and welcome to Slab Happy, where we make 3D forms out of slabs of clay. I'm your host, Mr. Ives, and this is my co-host, Clayton Clayball Jr. Say hi, Clayton. Alright, well, let's get started. So, anytime you're making a 3D form out of slabs of clay, the first thing you're going to have to figure out is what form do you want to make. So, you've got a lot of choices. I've got some examples here, possible ones, rectangular prisms, cones, pyramids, cylinders, and this mailbox shape here. Those are all possibilities, and these are all 3D forms. The next thing you have to figure out is what 2D shapes make up your 3D form, and that's what you're going to be cutting out of your slabs of clay. So let's break each one of these down and see what 2D shapes make them up. So right here you've got your rectangular prism. Look at it in all its three-dimensional glory. Very nice. And then let's break it down and see what 2D shapes make this guy up. So if we take it apart here, we end up with 4 rectangles and 2 little squares. Let's check out our cone. Circle on the bottom. And the cone shape is kind of like a triangle with its tip cut off, and it's got a rounded base. Our pyramid here, we break this guy down, it's a triangular 3-sided pyramid, and it's made up of 4 equilateral triangles. 1, 2, 3, 4. A cylinder has 1 circle on the top, 1 circle on the bottom, and then its walls are a rectangle. And lastly, the mailbox. And the mailbox doesn't have a base. Sometimes your shapes will need a base, sometimes they won't. Depends on what you're trying to make. So let's break this guy down. You end up with these 2 tombstone pieces. And again, 1 big rectangle. So, the first step is to figure out what you want to make. So, today I'm going to demo a cylinder and a cube, or a rectangular prism. Those are the 2 most popular shapes that students usually want to make. So, we'll start with our cylinder. So, we made that decision. We're going to make a cylinder. The next thing you're going to need is a big old hunk of clay. Right, Clayton? Now, I'm going to turn him around. This part's a little bit traumatic for Clayton. This is, his family over here. We're going to roll them out, so we're not going to make him watch that. Clayton, you can just turn your head. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so we're going to roll this guy out, and before we even start rolling, the first thing you want to do is knock this into a rectangular prism shape so that we can roll out a nice long pancake. We don't want to roll our clay out into a pizza. We need it to be longer than it is circular. So knock your clay until you get it into a shape like this. Longer on one side. Cool, then we're going to roll this guy out. And every 2 to 3 rolls, you've got to flip this thing. It's going to stick to the table. Right? 1, 2, 3, and flip it. And you can see it's already starting to stick a little bit. As you roll, even pressure, keeping your slab of clay nice and even. You don't want to create any dips in it. You don't want to create any lumps in it. Oh, see, you forget to roll. It starts to stick. Or forget to flip. Alright. And as we're rolling this guy out, our goal is to get him down to pinky thick. Thumb thick, and your clay can actually crack in the kiln. And any thinner than a pinky, and you risk getting too weak. And I'm almost there. You want to be careful not to take it past pinky thick. It's really easy to get too thin. It's also really easy to get stuck to the table. So you got to keep flipping it. Alright, we're getting close. The last few rolls, it's important to make sure everything is even and you don't have any lumpy spots. You want to avoid getting a mound of clay in the middle of your pancake. Call it the pregnant pancake look. We want nice, even pancakes. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So, there's what a good slab looks like. It's long, it's pinky, thin. Alright, check that out. Now, we're ready to cut the shapes out of this that we need. So, I got to decide what size cylinder I want to make here, because we've got big cylinders, these PVC pipes that you can use to make big cylinders. We've got some medium cylinders. You could even use something as skinny as the dowel if you wanted to make, a skinny cylinder. All right. Okay, you can watch now. Okay. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut out our circles. And when you're cutting your clay out of your slab, you want to think about where you're going to cut your shapes out of. Because if I cut my circles straight out of the middle, well, I just ruined my entire slab, and I would have to roll out another one. And it's going to take more time, more clay. So you want to think about it. And like when you're cutting Christmas cookies out, start from the edge so that we can make the most use of our slab. So I'm gonna make a medium cylinder here. And we're not going to press this into the clay and cut it out like a cookie cutter. What you want to do is set this onto your clay, and then we're going to cut out around this, and we're going to leave a pinky width of distance around the edge of this, and you'll see why later. So I'm going to set this here, and then I'm going to trace it, but wider than it is. So I'll hold it up and show you guys what I'm talking about in a second. So I'm leaving some extra clay around the edge of this. Alright, there we go. So, there is my circle I just cut out, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. See that extra clay on the edge? We need that. Okay, so there's my circle. Now, I'm going to get my big rectangular shape. So, it depends on how tall you want your rectangle to be. I can only make it, the tallest it can be is 5 inches, because I only have 5 inches of clay right here. But I'm going to cut it down a little bit. I'm going to cut it down to 4 inches. Okay? So I want to make a 4-inch tall cylinder. So I'm going to use my feather knife and make some little marks in my clay at that 4-inch width. Keeping those lined up. And then I'm going to use my ruler and trim my clay along those lines to get this junky edge off. We don't want that. We don't need that. Do the same on this side. I can go ahead and trim this off. Okay. Now don't worry about trimming your slab any more than this right now. Alright, leave it just like this, and we'll trim off anything we don't need after we wrap it around. We've got our mold here, our form, we're going to mold it around. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our big clay rectangle, wrap it around here, and attach them together. Before we do that though, we need to cover this guy in some newspaper so that the clay doesn't stick to him. Take some newspaper and just roll it right around our PVC pipe here. And all this extra newspaper, you can just take that and just stuff it down in there. It'll kind of hold itself in place, and you might not even need tape if you got a little extra part flapping off there. Just tape that down, get it out of the way. Okay, now we're ready to start piecing these things together. So we're going to take our clay, we're going to wrap it around. Now right here, you can see we've got a lot of extra. We've got some extra overlap. Let me scoot it back here. See all this? We don't need that. So we're going to trim that off. We do need a pinky's width of overlap. So I'll show you what you're looking for here. So I'm going to trim all that off. You can see how much overlap we've got left there. You need that much overlap. Any more than that's wasteful. Any less than that, and it might not connect strong enough. All right? So, now we're ready to actually start attaching this stuff together. Anytime you attach clay, you've got to score it, slip it, stitch it, and smooth it. So, the first step is the scoring. So, any part of clay that touches clay, we're going to score. The bottom part of this, the top part of our circle here, the parts inside of our coil that are inside of our cylinder that are touching. We're going to score the inside and the outside. Don't be shy when you do this. Let me show you guys what some good scoring looks like. Really go for it. You should see some nice deep gouges in your clay, and this is going to be the Velcro that sticks your clay together. Oh, I need some water.
Oh my God, I can't believe I'm the host of this guy. I deserve my own show where I'm the star, the Clayton Show. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we've scored it. Now we're going to slip it, which is just adding the water to all of these areas that we scored. We're going to piece this together. I've got a little bit extra overlap here. I'm going to trim it off again. Alright. We're going to set that down onto our base. And we're going to push all this together. Get it nice and solid. Then we're going to stitch it. So you can take your brush or any stitching tool you have at your table and draw lines in the clay. So you can see we've got all these seams where the clay has been pushed together, but you can still see it, right? Right there, right there. So we're going to take those seams and we're going to stitch them. Till it's nice and smooth. You guys will have time to make it look even better than mine does. But there we go. You would let this dry around this form until it feels a little bit more solid. Then you could take it out and continue adding anything else you want to it. So there's your cylinder. Now I've already got a slab rolled out. It is pinky thin and good to go. And I'm going to cut some rectangle shapes out of this and show you guys how to make a rectangular prism. When you're cutting your rectangular prism shapes out, it is trickier than the cylinder because you've got to measure more carefully, because if one of your rectangles is a different size, it's not going to work. So you got to think about what size you want to make it. I'm going to make a 2 by 1 inch rectangular prism. So I'm going to need 4 2 by 1 pieces and 2 1 by 1 pieces. Alright, so I'm going to start by measuring off a 2-inch section. 2. I'm going to come over here. And I'm giving myself some dots to connect, some dots that are 2 inches apart. And then I can connect those with the side of my ruler and trim that. So that I end up with a nice 2-inch wide rectangle. Now out of this 2-inch wide rectangle, I can cut some 1-inch pieces. So I'm going to use my ruler again and make marks, tick marks, 1 inch apart from each other. And there we go. And then use my ruler to trim those off straight. Beautiful. And now I've got 4 little rectangular 2 by 1 inch pieces. And let me show you guys how to put these together. So if you take these and you stack them like this, that can work, but it's tall and skinny, which might not be the shape you're looking for. You could take them and put them together all at the corners. If I can get it to do its thing. Let me put it in here. Ah, okay. So there, you can put them together like that, but you see we've got these weak corners, and it's wobbly, it's only holding together. What you want is to have the side of one meet the edge of the other, and then alternate. So now this one's going to be there. Okay, there we go. That's how you want to put these guys together. Okay, now we've got this. We're going to take this, set it down on our slab here, and custom fit the shape we need for our top and bottom, because it's going to be a little bit bigger than an inch, because we've got some extra. We've got to account for the width of the side walls. So if you cut these to fit, it'll all match up. Okay. Now you can see we've got a nice little rectangle here, and it is hollow on the inside. And you would score, slip, and stitch all this together. But I'll make you guys watch that. There you go. Rectangular prisms and cylinders. Say bye to Clayton.
Finally, I thought you'd never